you're welcome to Let's Talk About It. My name is Flaky, and Let's Talk About It is a contemporary Christian talk show. We talk about everything, and you can join us on social media, one way or the other, on Instagram mostly, and we look forward to having you as part of our audience. We want to learn from you, we want to hear about your experiences, and we'll have a great time together as we walk and talk about it. Thank you so much for being on this month's Let's Talk About It. We're truly excited to have you with us. It's how would I put it? We can say it's an exciting topic, but it's also a sobering topic because it's the time for us to get to learn. For us to get to learn and to hear, sharing someone's experience. And I'm sure that there's so many other people that are going to be tuning in to talk about their own experiences as well. This month's Let's Talk About It, we're talking about a word that puts a lot of fear in many of us. I would say most people, when they hear the word, they actually get very scared and afraid. It's a word, and that's why we actually call this the dreaded C. We're talking about cancer. We're talking about cancer. Was supposed to take place last month in October. October is globally known as, World Awareness Month for Cancer. And I tell people all the time, they're not celebrating cancer, but they're creating an awareness so that people can get tested and they can get treatments. That's what it's about. We don't celebrate something that is an illness or a disease. We're celebrating those that have survived it. We're celebrating those that did not. We're celebrating, just the life of people. That's what we're doing when we talk about cancer in the month of October. So the global awareness is also to create an understanding of what it is. Because people have so many misconceptions about what cancer is. Some people think, it's concealed. Getting to the bottom of that. With us this month, for this wonderful, wonderful time together, because it's always a wonderful time, we have two guests. Two people that are going to be shedding light in two different ways on this topic this month. This topic is cancer again, the dreaded C, so to call it. So we have a cancer survivor, and she's more than that to me. She's much more than that to me. She's not just someone that has survived cancer. She's actually my sister. And so you can imagine how close, home this is for me and why my interest has grown over the years. Many times we're not as sensitive to issues when something happens. A few years ago, about 7 years ago, lost someone that was very dear to me. And she had cancer as well. She had colon cancer. And we did not get much time to fight for her. But God was gracious to give us 7 months. We had 7 months to fight for her. And so that person is Pastor Fumi Adewale. Miss her very much and thanking God for her daily. I don't think a month passes by where something happens and I just don't recall some word of wisdom or some strength that I or other people have gained from her. So that said, and so it even moved even closer, when my sister called to tell me, actually, she didn't call to tell me, she had mom call to tell me, and I practically freaked out when I called her. I remember, she's smiling, she's always smiling, and I was just erratic because I was so scared. I had lost someone that was so close to me, and now you're telling me what, my sister, what is going on here? And I was really scared. And she said, okay, so why are you crying now? Why are you shouting? Why are you this? And I was just like, what kind of a person is this? Can she ever be real? Because as far as I was concerned, she just wasn't being real right now, But that's who she is. God has made this woman, she's an epitome of strength. And I know that strength is not just hers, it's what God has put inside of her. And so today I'm going to be talking about introducing to you Mrs. Hilda Egbo. I'm going to talk about her, and she's going to be talking much more about her experience, her journey so far. So let's go. Can I have a picture of, do you have a picture there? I know they're going to see her later, but it would have been good to see her picture. But if you don't have a picture yet, that's okay. Hilda Egbo is an entrepreneur. She's a business administrator and a trainer in the retail industry. That's how she first talks about herself. And I've been told that my internet is kind of unstable, and sorry about that. We'll just keep working with it. So, graduate of the University of Benin. She graduated from University of Benin in 1989, as well as Lagos Business School 2007, and University of Bedfordshire in the UK for her MBA in 2010. Her work experience in the private sector includes banking, health insurance, and management. She describes herself as a serial entrepreneur with several fully or partially owned enterprises, and that is the truth. That's exactly who she is. You know, her resume would be incomplete without stating that she's a breast cancer survivor. Like I said at the beginning, she was diagnosed in 2011, and she has had 2 surgeries and continues to receive treatment. As a result of this, she's an advocate for cancer education, prevention, and support. She is also on the board of the Cancer Foundation of Nigeria. And definitely, I think the most important part of her, apart from being a child of God, is that she's a wife, she's the mother of 4, and like she said, she says here, most importantly, a woman of faith in God. I celebrate my sister, my friend, and that's just, you know, who she is, just as easily as I've read this, as simple as I've read this. She's not a simple person, she's a very complex person. She has too many parts to her. She's strong in a way that most people would never understand. And that's why it's important for her to share this today. When she speaks at times, I'm like, where does she get this kind of strength from? Where does she get it from? I know it's from God, but many of us are Christians. Many of us have faith, and yet there's something different about her. I know she has been able to go through this and help others, young ladies, other people, and even people that are not dealing with cancer, deal with grief, illness, and all kinds of things just because of the way God has made her. I wish it was a physical gathering, because right now I'll be saying, please, could you put your hands together for Mrs. Hilda Egbo? I wish we could unmute everybody and just do that, because I would have really appreciated that, but it's okay. So what I'll do is I'll just put my thumb up there, and I'll put a heart as well, so that everybody knows that that's what I'm trying to do, celebrate my sister. Hilda, I love you so much, and I'm glad that you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know if Dr. Olaleye is here, because that's our second guest. I'm talking to the crew now. Is Dr. Olaleye here yet? Thank you so much for those that are clapping. Thank you. I can see that.
Networking bad.
Is Dr. Olaleye here yet, please?
No, not here yet.
Okay. Please could you send a reminder too? Thank you. I'm not able to send one because of the network here. All right, you can unmute now. So what we'll do is while we're waiting for Dr. Olaleye, Dr. Olufemi Olaleye, would go ahead and start talking with Mrs. Hilda Egbo. We have quite a few questions for her already. One thing I wanted to talk about is that, you know, we're talking about the dreaded C, cancer. I remember that many years ago, an aunt of mine actually told me that about 20 years ago, when she wanted to have a breast, a mammogram, when she wanted to have a mammogram, that because of your heritage, your lineage, you are most likely not to have breast cancer. And that cancer wasn't anything that we dealt with so much because of us being Black people, and especially Nigerians. I'm shooting from Nigeria today. You know, But in 20 years, that has changed dramatically. The number of people that you hear about that have had one form of cancer or the other is, amazingly high compared to back 2 decades ago. And so we're looking forward to talking with Dr. Olaleye about that. What has happened? What is causing this? Why are we hearing more people, Black people, more Nigerians being diagnosed with cancer? So we're looking forward to talking to him about that. And of course, we'll be talking about how to prevent it for the ones that are preventable, how to know what the signs are and what the treatment costs or courses and options are when he comes online. But now I'm going to be asking that Mrs. Ebo be unmuted so that we can get started with the questions for her. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone.
Good to see your face.
Yeah, good to be seen.
So we're going to start from the beginning.
Okay.
When did you hear, or how did you hear? What was your reaction?
Okay. So in 2010, which is about December, 2011, October, I'd come home on holiday from school. I hadn't quite finished what I was doing in the UK. And the beauty of a good husband had said to me that, he put a lump in my breast. And I said to him, oh, please go away. I've just lost a lot of weight. So, that's why I have the lump. He insisted he wouldn't let it go. He said I needed to go for a check. So I did. I went to the diagnostic center, Meteor, and they said to me, yes, there is a lump. They did a mammogram. And then said, well, they will send the results outside of the country to check it and, revert. This, I think, end of a week, and they were going to give me the results the Wednesday of the next week. Luckily, I was traveling on Sunday, so I was going back to the UK. I went in on Sunday, and on Monday, first thing in the morning, my husband says, it's time to see your GP. I said, come on, let's wait for mutual results. He was like, no, we're in the UK, see your GP. So I did. I went to my GP. GP examined me and said, okay, yes, it does look like something to worry about. We'll try and book an appointment with an oncologist. An appointment would take 2 weeks. I think I had only 3 weeks or thereabouts to stay in the UK. About 3 days later, I got a call from them saying they had gotten an appointment with the oncologist. Now, if you know how things work in the UK, the NHS is particularly slow. So that get the appointment in 3 days said to me, okay, that's it, that's our here. Got to the oncologist and they decided to have a biopsy and a necessary test. I was told the results would be out in about 5 to 7 working days. 2 to 3 days later, I got a call saying results are out, can you see the oncologist? And this for me was full confirmation. Not take that short time, so I was convinced, I knew ahead. So, I went to the consultation, and the doctor brought out a pack of tissues and put it on the table. So I said to her, okay, that tells me my aunt, and I promise you I'm not going to cry, I'm not worried. I've gone to an appointment with my husband. I'm not worried and I'm not going to cry. She was quite nice and said to me, there's the options, surgery, treatment, and all of that. That was how the journey started. But I must say, though, that for some reason, at peace, I always feel that, okay, so let's go back to my God matters. God always there. And I know that a lot of Christians don't like to hear this, but for me, I thought, even if I was going to die as a result of this, He was giving me notice to clean up and come back to him properly, notice to do everything right. So there was little or no fear really.
Wow.
So did that answer all your questions, Felipe?
So yes, you have answered my question. And saying that, back to the notice, but are you saying that there was no, was that, were you shocked?
Was that
Were
fair?
you shocked? Like, I'm trying to put my words. Were you
Was I shocked?
this would happen to you? Were you
No. You know, everybody says, why me? Why not? You know, everything that happens to you for a reason. For me, I think God was saying to me, you know, this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to impact the world. This is how I want you to educate people and to talk about it. And while I haven't done 1% of what Dr. Lale has done, I've been able to talk to people, get them to agree to treatment. I've been able to tell people about early prevention. You know, with Dr. Lale, he's just a doctor. So they don't believe him that much. So he's just a doctor. Now, you can see someone who's really dealing with it and living with it. And so it's easier coming from me, you know. I think that's what God wanted. He wanted me to be able to do some work. That's the way I felt anyway.
So, well, the next few weeks, what happened? The next few weeks after the diagnosis, what happened? What did you do?
Okay,
what
so
were
I
your
just
options? What did you end up?
I'll tell you about that. Okay, I'll tell you about that, but I just saw someone's comment. You know, it was very interesting. She knows exactly the why me question. And that's always, so I'd like to answer that first. I see, you know, I hear that a lot. Why me? I say, why not? When the good things happen to you, you always forget to ask why you. You know, when you get that job, when you find that perfect spouse, when you know, make your first million and everything else. Nobody asks why me. You assume that it's the blessings of God. But sometimes the Bible says He allows us to be tested. And that testing makes you stronger. But more importantly, He must also be preparing you for others who will need you in the future. So why not you? So I'll talk about the next few weeks. So the doctor, obviously she had done her investigation and read me the options. Surgery as quick as possible. And she wanted me to have it, you know, she had scheduled it for the next week. And I said to her, it wasn't going to happen. That's not happening. I'm going home. I'm going to go see my children and say to them, look, this is what has happened. I wanted to see my mother-in-law. At the time, I didn't have my mom anymore, but I wanted to see my mother-in-law. She loves me. So I wanted to see her. I wanted to see other moms. Felipe's mom, she hadn't seen me. She'd have killed somebody first, you know, and seeing me made a difference. They were able to see that I was well, I was okay, I was taking this well. And they drew strength from that, you know, and they were able to just know that it was well. To schedule the surgery, I had one of the best nurses ever. I wanted to be a safe nurse with my husband and my children and everybody else. And then I went back to the UK. When I was going back, I didn't want any of my sisters with me, including for me. I didn't want children or even my husband. Dealing with it, I had to do it by myself because I knew there was a lot of pain ahead of me. And it's more painful watching the world suffer. So they would have been in even more pain than I would have been. I would have been in even more pain, not just physically now, it would have been emotionally as well, because I would have watched them go through the pain that I was going through. So I insisted and I went alone. Went for my surgery. At the first surgery, they realized it had spread. So, but unfortunately, the first surgery was planned and they had the second surgery immediately. So they had to wait for me to heal for a month. And then the second surgery took place. And thereafter, it was treatment after treatment after treatment. But hey, here I am telling my story.
Thank God for that. I've always known you to be a strong person. And I remember that when you made the decision that you wanted to go by yourself and you didn't want any family member, I was just thinking, no, this is crazy. This is crazy. Because I just felt at that time that what you needed was for a family member to be with you. But hearing you talk about the pain that you would have felt from watching them see how much pain you were in, I kind of understand. And you didn't know, or you don't even know that, but the person that asked you or that responded to the why me, she is a cancer survivor as well. And so her name is Amakochi Josapela. She's a dear friend as well, went to school together. Her name is Flo. God for Folake. It's Flo Aderoju. Flo, if you're here, celebrating you as well, girl. And if you are able to unmute, yes, she's there clapping. If we can unmute, if the host can unmute, at some point, I want you to please share your own, whatever you have to see as well. Flo has been doing great work with other people as well. She has a foundation that helps to raise money for women that cannot afford treatments. And I applaud that. I applaud that. When you hear of people that have so much pain and so much, and yet they're not thinking about themselves alone. Yes, they're thinking about themselves because they want to be with their family and all, but they're able to convert their pain into something worthwhile for other people. It's always so amazing to me. And I applaud these two women, dearly. I really do. Dr. Laleye is here. We're not done with speaking to Mrs. Ego. Dr. Laleye is here. And I'm really excited to have him, on board. Dr. Olufemi Olaleye came highly recommended, and I was just hoping that he would agree to be, on the program. And so when he did in October, I was excited. But like I said, we had to shelf, postpone that program because of and the aftermath of the shooting at Lekki, which was so painful to, was a dark time for the nation. It wasn't the time to even sit down, talk. Nobody could think. We had other things in our minds as well. And so he's here today, and I'm very excited. I'm going to read his bio. It's very long, so just wait and listen to this. Dr. Olufemi Olaleye is a clinical entrepreneur, a skilled health specialist, a health project manager, and a prudent business administrator. He graduated from the University of Ife, which is now known as Obafemi Awolowo University, in 1991, and proceeded to the United Kingdom to begin his training, postgraduate training in obstetrics and gynecology. So he works with women quite much, extensively. He took a year to acquire his master's in business administration. When I read that, I'm like, all these doctors that are moving into our MBAs, what is their problem? They should just stick to their medicine generally and keep looking at it. Why are they looking at the business angle? Dr. Femi Olaleye, you're going to have to answer to that later. From a very prestigious college in the United Kingdom, Imperial College. And he was appointed the clinical fellow in obstetrics and gynecology, Terence Valley Hospital, Dartford, Kent. And he was in this position for 4 years before he resigned in 2008, after a total of 10 years of service with the British NHS. So when Hilda spoke about NHS, I was like, okay, Dr. Laleye has to talk about why the system is so slow. So I guess we have it here for different reasons today. He has to account for the slowness in the NHS system. But I'm a Nigerian and I'm here And I'm like, get our own system up to that level first, you know. And God will help us, I know, but we have to put the work in it. Dr. Alaleye has 2 social enterprises and is the CEO of Optimal Healthcare Limited and the medical director of Optimal Cancer Care Foundation of Nigeria. Over the years, since returning from the United Kingdom, he has been using his clinical and managerial skills to care for people, especially the less privileged and those that are living in the grassroots through his NGOs. We really applaud that, sir. Thank you and God bless you. His foundation designs and delivers free and affordable cancer screening services for men and women. And you know, I'm glad that the mention of men comes up because many times people just think breast cancer like it's the only kind of cancer. And there's so much spoken and said about that we forget that there are other screenings that can be done. So Dr. Lai will talk to us about the kind of screenings that are done for men, because basically we hear about cervical cancer, breast cancer, and the screenings are for women. What kind of screenings do men need? Note that, sir, because you'll be talking to us about that too. So screenings for men and women across Nigeria. He's also passionate about improving clinical governance in healthcare and the reduction of costly medical errors, amen to that, in Nigeria through clinical risk management. He has received several media attention, definitely, and featured in documentaries locally and internationally. He has received accolades from all kinds of organizations, from Diamond Bank, Ovation, Red Coral, Development Marketplace, Diaspora Entrepreneurs from the World Bank, all kinds of awards. He has so many awards and accolades. We are really excited for him. I think this one really excited me, that he was awarded the African Medical Doctor in 2015. I was like, wow, in Berlin, Germany, by the Global Change for Africa organization, because of his impactful work, in his area of specialization. Dr. Alaleye has received all kinds of awards from the first ladies, at least 7 first ladies from different states in Nigeria, NBC, 7-Up Bottling Company, GlaxoSmithKline, that's GSK, just to mention a few of them. But he loves to serve his community. He loves to, I think just bringing it back home for me is so important. He's a member of the Lions Club International and a member of the medical board of the Archbishop Vining Memorial Cathedral Church in Ikeja. He's solution-minded and vision-driven change agents. Please let's applaud Dr. Olufemi Olaleye. Thank you so much for being here, sir. We applaud you. And it'll be nice to unmute him now so that we can see him. Nice to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, and to all the other listeners around the world, and thanks for joining this Zoom meeting. Hilda Ego, my wonderful warrior, I call her.
Yes.
She has a fantastic story, and she's living the survival story, really. As you can see, if she hasn't told you what she's gone through, really, thank God we don't look like what we have gone through, right? She has indeed gone through a lot, and she has turned around her story to be a story of impact, a story of hope, and a story of inspiration to people like us who at one hand, we are raising awareness, but most times we feel like giving up, because we are seeing these women very late and they are dying. Every week or every other month, I'm hearing one patient I have known, I saw 3-4 years ago, had passed away. But when I see Hilda, I'm inspired to keep going on, because she's still alive, she's still here, and she's happy sweetly to tell her story, sharing her story. And a wonderful story as well, my regards to her hubby, Toby, who really truly identifies what we have always said about men. Men, truly, you should get closer to your women. You should remind them about their breasts. They're very busy looking after everybody, but at times they don't look after themselves enough. So our responsibility to remind them to also look after themselves. So all in all, thank you very much for having me, and I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to sharing information with you as well. If it's possible, let me share screens so I can actually show some things I've prepared that I may want to share so that people can follow some of the things I need to talk about, if it's possible. If not, then I will just engage us.
It's possible that we definitely like that.
Okay.
We definitely like that. But before you go to share the screen, I want to ask this. Why did you choose obstetrics and gynecology? There's so many other areas of medicine. Why that?
Yes, 2 reasons. I think it's my destiny to be here doing exactly what I'm doing with my work, with my life and around women. But the one I can actually remember was my professor of gynecology back in medical school. He was Dr. Okonofor, and now he's Professor Okonofor. Some people might recognize him from the audience. And he used to say that the woman's pelvis is not more than this. So if you're a specialist in an area that is not more like this, you get very good at it. You can't get it wrong. So in a very funny way, he was telling all of us in medical school then, focus on the woman's pelvis because you can't get it wrong. You know, it's a specialist area that it's not more than this and you can't get it wrong. And fortunately for me, I found a niche area in cervical cancer and breast cancer prevention, which obviously affect women. So I actually abandoned my career in gynecology and obstetrics to focus only on cervical breast cancer prevention. And as you read in my profile there, that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. I've come back to this country. I refused the attempt to be dragged into private practice to treat malaria and typhoid or be delivering babies. There are enough doctors doing that. There are not enough of us doing this thing I am doing. There are not of us giving women like Hilda the necessary support that is needed. And we need enough people driving policy as well. So that's the reason why I went into obstetrics and gynecology. I believe that it was something I'm destined to do with my life and my career.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting story. Very interesting story. Are you still in touch with the
professor? Oh yes, he's currently I think the Vice Chancellor of University of Medicine in Ondo State. So he's doing very well. He's actually a very well-respected senior colleague all over Nigeria and of course outside Nigeria as well, Professor Okonofor. Some people can Google his name later. He's done a lot of work in obstetrics and gynecology in Nigeria. So I'm really proud to say I'm one of his boys, as they say.
I'm certain that he's very proud of you as well.
Yes, thank you.
Very proud of you. A few questions that have been asked before the program, because I usually get feedback from people even before the program starts. And one of the questions is, why is it that it seems as if once there's a cancer diagnosis, death is inevitable? It's as if that is the end. Why does it seem as if there are other illnesses, there are other diseases, but why is it that when we hear cancer, that's the first thing, you know, it's like, death sentence, this is the end. And that's one part, that's the A part of the person's question. The other part is, what you talked about screenings and all that, yes. But some people have actually had screenings and they still find out later. I forgot to actually ask Mrs. Egbo that what stage did they say that she was at when she was when her diagnosis was made. So the first question is why. I'm trying to recall the way she put it now. Why is it associated with death immediately? There are other illnesses, there are other diseases, but cancer just seems like a death sentence immediately. And number two, how come most people, when they're diagnosed, they're already stage 3, stage 4, or whatever, like towards the end of the stages? You know, how come that happens, even for those that get medical attention?
Thank you. I have a feeling that the best way I can explain this is to actually break down the definition of cancer in a layman's language. Cancer is a disease of the human body that's affecting the cells of that person's body. But the only abnormality that we know and we have identified with these cancerous tissues or cells is that they have lost the ability to die. All living cells in the human body must do what we call Mr. Niger, D. M for movement, R for respiration, N for nutrition, I for irritability, G for growth, E for excretion, R for reproduction. Then they die. So a good example of that is your fingernail here. At the bed of the fingernail a week ago, that was alive, but it's been growing to a point where when you go to have a manicure or you clip your nails, you're actually clipping dead nail cells. The same thing with the hair on our head. If you pull your strand, I don't have any hair anymore. I sort of shaved it off. But as a woman, if you pull your hair, you will feel pain because the stalk has a bulb, a hair bulb that's attached to a nerve ending and a cell. So you will feel because it's alive. But by tomorrow, that hair bulb would have died and the next one would have pushed it up. So you have a hair shaft. It is the hair shaft that we cut that's made up of dead cells. So the same thing is going on our skin, in our tongue, in the bloodstream, the liver, the heart, all the cells and the tissues in the human body. They are getting replaced by new cells almost on a daily basis. And some are growing, some are dying. Now, in cancerous tumors or tissues, the abnormality is such that the particular group of cells have lost the ability to follow that normal pattern of growth and death. So they continue to grow. So we call these cancers growths because of that. And having used that as a basis of explanation, you can imagine if a group of abnormal cells are growing in a woman's breasts. We doctors will call it breast cancer, but the body doesn't know that. The body doesn't know that it's an abnormal tissue. So the body will feed it, blood vessels will take nutrients there, and guess what? It will take these nutrients and multiply further. The reason people know something is not right with them is when the body identifies that as abnormal. So if, for example, you have malaria parasite in that person's body will make you feel unwell. So you get a symptom. If corona enters your bloodstream or your nostrils, by the following week or so, you start coughing because you have symptoms. If you have food poisoning, before the end of that day, you will go to the toilet because your tummy will be what? Rumbling. But in cancer, you don't have symptoms because these tissues are the person's, not in quotes, same normal tissue cells. So the body does not have an alert system to identify this abnormality. So it keeps coexisting in a healthy body, which is why we use the word screening. We assume everybody is healthy, come and get screened so we can identify that abnormality. Because by the time you wait for the symptoms of that abnormality, guess what? It's too late. Because three things would happen. One, the abnormal tissue will have spread beyond the original source. So for example, a woman with breast cancer, the abnormality, the tissue would have actually spread into the blood vessel, and it can go to the brain, can go to the liver, can go to the bone, can go to the lungs. Secondly, it's easier to remove an abnormality that is about the size of my fingernail, than compared to removing a lump the size of my fist from a surgical and chemotherapy point of view. And more importantly as well, the signs that the woman will start having, the symptoms she will start having, will be on the basis of the size of the disease. So it's easy for us to actually define and detect that disease before the symptoms come. So cancer cells are cells of that person's body, not somebody pulling an arrow from the village landing in a woman's breast, as some people would say mythically, which is not true. It is not because somebody did like this to you, or somebody did not like you and they put some juju on your body. No, there are cells of that person's body. The abnormality is simply because they couldn't remember to follow the laid down principle of growth and death. So the only way we doctors can solve this problem is in two ways. A cell that has lost the ability to die, what do you do to it? You go and physically kill it, which is why surgery is the mainstay of treatment of cancer. You cannot leave a cancerous lesion in the human body. You have to go physically and cut it off from the body, because there's no way that body would know how to deal with that disease. You have to remove it, otherwise it will kill. Secondly, you use medication, drugs, to go and look for these cells and kill them. That's what we call them chemotherapy, or we call chemotherapy as chemical agents that are designed to kill these cells as a form of treatment. In fact, we call them cytotoxic drugs because they are very toxic to the cells. They are designed to kill cells. And that's why those two mainstays of treatment, including radiotherapy as well, which is using radiation to actually kill the cancer cells. So everything that is out there to treat cancer is to actually kill the cells, either surgically removing them or using chemical or radiation to take care of them. Now, to your last question, why do we seem to find these diseases at the late stage? I've actually answered the first one, because there are no symptoms. People who assume by the time they are waking up in the morning, they are doing praise and worship and thanking the Lord, they're able to go to church or to the mosque, they are healthy. So they don't need to worry about, oh, should I go and be checking my breast? Should I go and be checking my cervix? In the case of a man, should I go and be checking my prostate? Because we don't have a screening program, a national screening program for our men and for our women, we are missing out an opportunity to find the Hildas of this world. Hilda was discovered at stage 2, if I get it right, possibly stage 2B, because there were some cells in the lymph node already in the armpit. If we had had a national mammogram service, she probably would have been nudged by her husband, go do your mammogram when she turned 40. And maybe we could have picked it up at stage 1. But because we don't have a national screening policy, the symptomless nature of cancer, most women would not know anything is going on in their body. And finally, the issue of poverty. When women actually discover something is not right with their body, for example, a woman notices a lump. The lump is there as a symptom, but it is not painful. Cancerous lumps are not painful. And again, Hilda confirmed that she didn't feel the lump. She didn't even know it was there. It was my brother, Toby, that said, darling, I can feel something in your breast. Let's go have it checked out. So when women at times find the lump in their breast, they ignore it. They go, oh no, imagine. They do the usual spiritual things they do to it. Some even go as far as scarification, going to the herbalist. In Yoruba, we call it bere. They will go and mark the area and rub atagigbe and garlic into it, thinking by doing that, that thing will disappear or it will go down. Most times it doesn't work. In fact, all the time, if it's cancerous, it doesn't work like that. So because they don't have the money to seek medical attention quickly, they wait for the symptom to appear, the symptom they have identified with cancer. And usually it's symptoms of pain or a wound or bleeding from the nipples, or of course, the thing has already transferred, or we use metastasis, but I will use the word spread to maybe the liver or to the lung or to the bone. So when they start coughing or coughing blood, or they can't sleep because the pain is a lot in the bones, or like a woman I had who had brain metastasis, once we started having headaches, those things will now force them to come and look for solution. By that time, usually the compounding factor of minimum income, they don't have a lot of money. The compounded factor of the disease has already spread. So the specialist that's going to take care of these patients, doctors like us, now have an Herculean task ahead of them. Because taking care of a cancer patient is multidisciplinary. You need a surgeon. You need an anesthetist. You need a radiologist. You need an ICU doctor. You need possibly, at that point in time, an oncologist as well to plan the treatment. You know, after the operation, you now still need nurses. You need rehabilitation nurses. You need physiotherapy. So it's multidisciplinary approach to care. Most of us in this field, there are not many of us who have dedicated approach to taking care of our patients in a multidisciplinary manner. So by the time they appear at our clinics with a late-stage disease, with not enough money, as of yesterday, I'm still begging a surgeon to take a fraction of the cost for a woman that we know has breast cancer and needs mastectomy, but she's still looking for a fraction of the money. And I'm still begging the surgeon, please take just 100,000. The bill is almost $500,000. You know, so by the time that woman has gone around looking for that 100,000 that she's going to pay, the disease is not going to wait. On a daily basis, new cells are being broken off from the cancerous tumor into other parts of her body. So by the time she finally finds that money, in a couple of months from now, and she's coming, doctor, oh yeah, I am ready. The doctor will be saying, this case has become inoperable. That's a consensus doctor. Some of my colleagues will try their best. They'll collect the money, knowing fully where the prognosis will be what? Very poor. And that's why we still have a lot of these women still dying, despite medical attention, because they have wasted time looking for money, waiting for symptoms, and of course, they miss the opportunity of getting screened. So screening is the key. And if I don't know if somebody's going to ask me this question later, if at the end of my life and I can look back and I say, what would I be very happy as an achievement, is the fact that we've been able to screen a lot of women. And hopefully our government can become a partner in doing this. Screening should be taken down to the lowest level of governance, grassroots level. Primary healthcare centers, let the women walk in on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. Let them have this breast examination done. Let's identify those who are at risk. Let's move forward in putting the referral centers in place so that these women can have a pathway of care. There's no point telling a woman in Yanopaja that there's a lump in her breast, and then I now send her to General Hospital in Ikeja, and they're telling her, come today, come tomorrow. Because we do see that in reality. So we need a pathway of care, picking up these women at their lowest level of access of care to a tertiary center where at the end of the day, they are singing glory, hallelujah, because somebody are taking their care from the beginning to the end. And that's what we are trying to do at my foundation, which is a private NGO, which is not funded by anyone particularly. We're only trying to do what we need to do by the grace of God and the support of people like Madam Hilda Hegbo, who is also on the board of my foundation as a trustee. After our own experience, we organize fundraising, we reach out to corporate sponsors, we reach out to spiritual, faith-based organizations to reach their members and to also help us raise some money to help subsidize this cost of screening to the women. So which is why we do screening for women free every Friday. For the past 8 years, we've been doing that at Optimal Cancer Foundation. Every Friday, women turn up for free so that we can check their cervix, check their breast for them. And then we tell them what they need to do. Some will come back later to follow up. Some, they don't come back, but we thank God that we've been able to do that. We're almost reaching 70,000 women now that we have screened at the foundation. And to God be the glory. Those who we discovered early are alive to tell their stories, like Madam Hilda is doing today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sadly, because of the financial situation in the country, because of coronavirus, we don't offer this screening for free anymore on Fridays. We only offer it at 50% subsidized rate, which I'm sure I will share that information with you and your viewers later. Thank you, Madam, for looking. I hope that answered your question.
extensively, and I have learned so much. I'm sure, like other viewers, definitely I have learned so much more because I wanted to understand, more about the growth of these cells and all that. And then it just took us back to biology class. Simple, Mr. Niger. A typical cell is supposed to go through that process, but these cells refuse to go to the final stage, which is die. I never knew that. I never knew that. I'm just very certain that many of us here. Yes, and so that makes a lot of sense because I know that growing up, all you would hear is that, oh, you if it's cancer, you won't feel anything until the end. And so it makes sense because, like you said, it's just, reproducing itself like a normal cell in the body. And so there'll be no pain until it's really getting into other areas. I think the other thing that actually hit me was that I didn't realize that it could metastasize into the brain. I thought that, if you go anywhere, maybe it will be below, but now you're talking about a woman who's went, from breast cancer, the cells, grew and went to the brain because she's now feeling a lot of headache. God will just have mercy on all of us and help us out because it's kind of hearing the information and you're become more aware. I have a question before you share the slides, sir. I have a question. Talking about cervical cancer. In the United States, when we took our children for screening, for immunization, they were told that HPV vaccine is for those that have not been sexually active. So you're encouraged to tell your child or to allow your child to have it from, I think, age of 12, so that, But I got confused because in Nigeria, we have so many organizations and we have women taking the HPV vaccine. And I don't understand that. Why is the method different in the United States? Does it work for women that are already sexually active? And why is it that in those states, in those countries, I mean, the United States and other, I think the UK as well, they don't emphasize the need for it with people that are already sexually active? While in Nigeria, we are giving it to whoever desires to have it. Okay, that's another good topic, which I will probably shed more light on if you let me share my slides. All right, sir. Okay, so I'll wait on that. Because I really have a slide for breast cancer, I have a slide for cervical cancer as well, and I'll be able to tackle that as a process. But it's a very good point, and I don't want your women, particularly those who have asked those questions, to get lost in the explanation. I want to actually build up the explanation better by sharing the slides, if possible. All right, sir. So before the slides again, and before I go to Mrs. Edwin again, what about the screening for men? Because one of the things the organization does is have screening for men. What kind of screenings do men need for cancer? Yes, I am again going to explain why we use the word screen. Screening meaning we assume everybody is normal, but we will identify the abnormality through a simple method. We doctors, we've identified criteria for diseases that you can screen. So for example, you can screen for blood pressure, hypertension, by checking the blood pressure. So everybody sits down in a room, 10 people are going to have their blood pressure checked. Most likely we'll find one person with high blood pressure by just using the blood pressure sphygmanometer to check the blood pressure. So that's a screening test. For cancer, or for most other diseases, there are some criteria you must fulfill before you can screen for them. For example, I cannot go out there and start screening for brain cancer. I cannot go out there and start screening for lung cancer because they don't fulfill the criteria. So the only disease that fulfills that criteria in men is prostate cancer. And the main three criteria are: one, it must be common enough. Prostate cancer is the more cancer killer of men. Is that common? Two, the disease must have a latent period where it is developing over a long period of time before it becomes full-blown. So your screening method should be able to identify it at an early latent phase. That means before it becomes a full-blown disease. So there's no point in me screening for
a disease like pancreatic cancer, when there is no early, you can either have pancreatic cancer or you don't have it. There's no point looking for early pancreatic cancer, because by the time you identify pancreatic cancer, it's already very, very late disease. So prostate cancer is a cancer that you can actually detect very early, and your outcome, which is the third criteria, your outcome of treatment should be able to be the cost of your treatment should be able to be so small compared to the outcome. So if you are going to screen somebody for a disease and you have identified the disease, what you are going to spend treating that at that point in time should be minuscule compared to if you are going to treat the disease at a later time, because that gives you an extra incentive to get screened. Does that make sense right now? So prostate cancer fulfills that criteria for men. Men over 40, our prostate develops and gets bigger. Prostate is about the size of a garden egg that sits underneath our bladder. It's a muscular organ that just pumps semen out of our body when we have intercourse. That's what makes us to ejaculate. That's what it does. After the age of 40, the cells in that prostate too can forget to die. So they form a nodule. The nodule grows gradually to form a bigger nodule, and the bigger nodule starts expanding on the prostate itself, affecting the function of the prostate. That's when most men start saying, oh, I have a problem. I cannot pee properly. I cannot, ejaculate properly. I am having pains and discomfort in my lower abdomen. By that time, they've missed almost 10 years of an opportunity to have been screened and they identify the disease. So that's why it's mandatory for every man over the age of 40 to go for a prostate assessment test. And it's a very simple test. We don't need to go and be looking and feeling for the prostate. It's a blood test. The prostate secretes an antigen called PSA, prostate-specific antigen. That the only part of the human body that secretes that antigen is the prostate. And it can only increase when the prostate is increased in size, usually because of cancer. So we have a get out of jail free card for men. You don't need to go into hospital for anybody to do any physically invasive test for you, unlike women that we have to strip them naked. We have to put instruments into their body. Men, our own is just a blood test. And if a man can do his PSA blood test annually, and he knows the value should be less than 4. I don't need to put the unit so it doesn't confuse anybody out there. Just look for the singular element of the PSA assessment they have done for you. You should remember the value. It should be less than 4.0. And if it's less than 4.0, you are good for that year. Repeat it the following year. What we are interested in is if a 41-year-old man is doing his PSA 2020, by 2030, if he's going to have prostate cancer in his 50s, the velocity of increase from 2020 when he was 40 to when he will be 50, a doctor can easily plot it and say, oh, my brother, you are now 50. You've been doing this PSA from 40, but I can see the increase. So therefore, let us do more testing to figure out why your PSA is looking like that. So it's not good enough for the man just to do his PSA just once and then forgets about it until he's 50, because you have missed an opportunity for the doctor looking after you to plot the velocity of increase. So all these scientific tests and screening methods are now available, and men do no longer have any excuse to be given a diagnosis of prostate cancer in their 50s, in their 60s, if they can indeed start screening in their 40s. All right, hope that helps.
Yes, that has helped a lot. And I'm going to bring a myth. Well, I'm calling it a myth right now because you haven't said anything about it. I've heard, I work with young men and we talk about all kinds of things. And one of the things that I've been told by young men is that the reason why men are beginning to develop prostate cancer is because in Christendom, we encourage them to be celibate until they are married. And many of them are getting married later now. And so they believe that because they're not having sex and ejaculating, it means that they are more prone to prostate cancer.
Hope you didn't fall for that.
He told this so many times by the young men I work with. I hear all kinds of things, and I'm open to hearing them anytime. But please, some of them are on right now, and I want you to talk to them. Is it because they're not having sex now?
No.
That means that most likely they'll have prostate cancer in the future.
No. It's a myth, and let's just stay that way. It's a myth. It's not true. There's no scientific basis for that. It's just maybe some what I would call rascally young men looking for an excuse to get off. And in fact, there are other things people say can lead to prostate cancer. Masturbation, I've heard that, and that's not true as well. The only verifiable risk factor that we have found for prostate cancer is Black men over the age of 40. Our risk factors are so high because of the level of testosterone in our bloodstream. So if you're a Black man, if you're over 40, you definitely a high risk candidate for prostate cancer compared to a Caucasian of that same age group. So if the men you're talking about or referring to are younger than 40, they are fine. I will advise them to practice safe sex if they're going to get involved because sexually transmitted disease is a big deal out there. And more importantly, for them to start screening when they become 40 years old. Okay?
All right, thank you. Also, going to the women's side, growing up, we heard all kinds of things about breast cancer. And one of the things that we heard is that the size of the breasts determines whether you have breast cancer or not. Please, can you also talk about that so that whoever is listening right now, because you know, the reason why we talk about these things is that one person hears, but it means that 100 people have heard because it gets, you know, transmitted to other people. So does the size of the breasts determine the likelihood of developing breast cancer?
Thank you very much. I like the fact that you stress the importance of advocacy and telling women. I always tell women that if you want to educate an individual, educate a man. When you want to educate a society, educate a woman. Because women, you turn everything to gist. Say, come, I don't hear something today, you know. But men, we hear the gist, we keep it to ourselves, and we talk only about football and politics. But women, when you're in the shop, when you're on the phone with your friend, you know, so kudos to you women out there. You're great advocates and well on your medium here as well. So going back to your question, the size of the woman's breast does not increase the risk. But what it does, particularly when I get to the slide when I'm teaching women about self-breast examination, women need to know how to examine their breasts themselves. So I'm going to get to a session where I would sort of demonstrate how self-breast examination should be done by every woman on a monthly basis today. So remind me if I forget to do that. So if a woman has a larger breast, there's a likelihood that she may miss the lump compared to somebody who has probably a smaller breast. But it doesn't increase the risk. So to reduce the risk of error, of omission, of missing out on the breast lump, that's why we encourage women to not just rely on self-breast examination. They should also come into hospital and see their healthcare provider, the doctor, the nurses. And more importantly, also invest in an imaging technique, either a mammogram or an ultrasound scan, which will do a better job of finding a lump in a woman's breast as opposed to just using your fingers. So I'm happy to lay that myth to rest. Women with a bigger breast do not have an increased risk. And I've seen women with smaller boobs with breast cancer. I've seen women with smaller boobs with 3, 4, 5 lumps at the same time that I've had to remove. If you follow me or anybody checks me out on Instagram, Dr. Femi, Dr. Femi, you will see a whole load of procedures I've done at the foundation, removing lumps for histology, and you will see that the size of these women's breasts do not particularly have to be large before we can find lumps in them. I'm sure Hilda wants to say something about that, if she doesn't mind giving us the spec of her breasts to help us lay that to rest. What's the size of your breast, Hilda?
I'm just about to go to her now.
Please go, please do.
We need. Okay, good. She's unmuted.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Lale has almost made me a doctor. So I get to actually see a lot of women as well. No, I don't believe that the size of your breast has anything to do with it. I am full chested. I don't know. I don't think it has. I mean, I was going to say actually when we were talking about it that if we were talking of size of breast, there are men with breast cancer. Remember, there's few men, very rare, but some men do have breast cancer, and I mean they have pretty much nothing.
Yeah, that's very true. So well with Hilda, I want to ask you, what was the? I know you're still going through the process, but what was the most difficult part, apart from the pain? I know that a few months ago, for the first time, we actually talked about the pain, and she was talking about showing the children and telling them exactly how painful the process was. Well, I need to know for you, apart from the physical pain, which you should talk about so that people understand that as well, what was your greatest fear?
Everybody else. My greatest fear was everybody else. I could see the fear in my husband's eyes every time I looked at him. I could see the fear in my children. I still see it till today. My mother-in-law. I could see the fear with everybody else. And I think that was actually my greatest pain. Physical pain, I have a high pain threshold, but physical pain was easier for me to deal with. Seeing the pain of someone you love, you know, even though it's not physical, it was very difficult for me, you know. I think that was really my big pain. My bigger pain physically was radiotherapy. You know, so it causes the skin to burn and swell and put hot oil on it. So you would have blisters, watching blisters. So I have all this part of me. I have to show that. So all of here was all burns and blisters. So I couldn't wear anything. I'd wear a tree top to go to hospital without a bra or anything. Well, obviously after surgery and everything, couldn't even wear. So I was going around, you know, hanging, going to hospital. That was a lot of pain. Sleeping at night. I've always been known to sleep on my chest. So the first 40 years of my life, I was sleeping on my chest. And then I had to learn to sleep on my back because of all that pain. But I think it was watching people, you know. Today, if I have a headache, I'd rather talk about it because I think that somebody's going to get worried, you know. The other day I went to Dr. Lale. I had a lump in the other armpit, a totally different armpit. And I was worried and somebody was laughing. Can you imagine? And touching this and it goes, oh no, this is just my idea. So do you remember? This was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like, no, this is just what I've been doing. So he sent me off to get it all drained out. They start to go again to let him know. By the way, it's going again, you know, but it was just liquid. So, but I didn't tell anybody at home. It was just between myself and Femi. Nobody knew about it. You know, because you don't want to worry them. You can't even talk about, you know, but with Femi, it's always easy to talk to him because apart from, I mean, I knew Femi long before I was diagnosed. We've always been friends, you know, so it's easy to tell him things, like in worst cases, and have to deal with them on a daily basis. So it's the fear of other people. It's fear you can see in their eyes, but the headache, or when you have a fever, and they worry about you. And unfortunately, Femi is probably not going to like this, but the thing that we forget to say is that cancer has the highest rate of recurrence in the world for cancer. So it is important that I find it, I talk to a lot of women who say, oh, but I've had cancer, so they're now relaxed. No such luck. And every woman over 40 must do a mammogram every year. you must, it's not every year, it's every 3 years. But family will tell you that part of it, I don't know. But you must continue to screen yourself. It's going to teach you the self-examination must be done monthly without fail. All of those things, you can't stop screening. You can't. You've got to continue.
Have you had to change your diet because of your diagnosis?
So I refuse to stop eating. When people say those things to me, I'm like, no, I'm not going to stop it. And don't you dare say anything you shouldn't say. So I refuse to stop living. I insist on living. However, I have a few things. So they would say sugar is bad for you. I really was never a sugar person, so I cut it out totally. They say sugars generally, so that means foods that are white, yams and breads and things. But then again, as you go older, you should reduce those things anyway. So I avoid white food as much as possible. I do brown rice or fava rice. I tend to eat yam once every 6 to 8 weeks. I would do oats instead of pounded yam or any of those things. But if I truly desire a bowl of ice cream, and Felicia, you remember how I used to love those when I'm 10? I still do them. So on the day that I desire a bowl of ice cream, I would go to Chocolate Royale or to, what's the ice cream shop? Whatever I say. And I would buy my bowl of ice cream and I will settle it. You've got to be happy, I actually believe, to fight anything. You've got to be, you need that internal, happiness. And I insist on it.
Yeah. And like I said at the beginning, this is not just a cancer survivor, this is my sister. So it's a personal journey. Even though, like she said, she did shut us out of the journey for a part of it because she wanted to deal with it herself. And that was hard for us too. That was hard for us. So I don't know who's listening, but at times when people are going through things, because they love you so much, they try to shield you from it as well. So it's not because they don't care about you. It's not because they hate you. It's not because they are shunning you. It's because they love you and they're trying to shield you from the pain as well. So what do? You just stay with them. However they want you to be, wherever position they want you to be at that time, stay there, do not walk away. Because they'll be able to come at the right time. Like I said, it just, when she spoke about seeing the pain in people's eyes and all that, I know because we share a mom and she knows that that mother is a drama queen. And just in June, it's true, just in June, she was finally able to ask her some questions. She turned 70, mom turned 70, and so of course Hilda was over and all that. And she was just saying, because at times she would ask me some questions and I'm like, why can't you say, no, I don't want to ask her. But she was able to talk about it and then they really connected. I'm saying this again so that when you have someone who's going through a situation and you feel like you're being shut out, don't walk away. Just stay there. Stay there with them through this journey. We're going to be going to Dr. Olaleye so you can share the slides and we can get better educated. Thank you so much, sir. Waiting on you.
Thank you. Let me quickly see if the technology here will allow me to do that. I will quickly, okay, I will go back into my own computer and then because you caught me unawares, I didn't realize you called me up for that very quickly. So let me quickly pull it up in my documents.
Okay.
And then go back to share screen, okay, in a minute. My slides are usually PDF pictorial slides that I've used for other presentation in some other organizations. So I'll try and see whether one of those ones will pop up so I can quickly talk about breast cancer and also about cervical cancer on that. Okay, I have one up now. So let me see if I come back to Zoom, if I'm able to share that. Okay. So, can everybody see the slide that I've shared now?
Yes.
It says breast cancer is about early detection. Can everybody see that?
Yes, it's visible to all.
Okay, so what I have in this particular slide is a mammogram picture, because we have spent some time talking about breast cancer. So I needed to just let people understand why they need to invest 10, 12,000 naira if you're over 35 years old to just go and do a mammogram. The little image you can see there, where my cursor is a stage 1 cancer. It's a calcified nodule that is, you can see clearly, is the size of the woman's breast. But even at that stage 1, you can see it's already spreading. Some of the calcification is spreading towards the nipple. So a lump about the size of a granite is already spreading. If this woman hadn't done a mammogram, the doctors would be none the wiser. She herself would not even know. So by the time this thing has grown from this size of granite to tom-tom, to agbalumo, God forbid, an orange, that's where most women start saying, Egbami, please help me, help me. The doctor said that they have found a lump in my enemy's breast. I'm sure, Sister Foluke, you've had such, expressions. They
Yes.
dissociate from it, but
Yes.
it's their enemy that they have found the lump and they are rejecting it. And that's the reason why we need a national screening policy. In other parts of the world that you mentioned, and I will make references to them a lot. If you come out of a shopping mall, like Texco or Safeway or Asda, the NHS actually packs a truck where women can go in there, quickly give them, their breast and have a mammogram done, free of charge. It is such a very vital test to do for women. And the survival of this woman, the prognosis of this woman at stage 1 is 80%. In 5 years' time, she'll be alive. We call it 5-year survival rate. If this thing has gone up to just about this size, which will be stage 2, the survival rate will be reduced to almost 50%. By the time it's already stage 3, the survival rate is down to 20%. Stage 4 is when it's already metastasized outside the breast. It's already too late. So when we find a lump in a woman's breast, going back to this picture here, it could be one or two things. It could be a malignant tumor, or it could be a benign tumor. So we doctors can do a test to discover whether it's actually a cancerous lump or not. We call that a biopsy. So we can do a needle biopsy, like a simple, just let us quickly find out more about this lump before a surgeon plans to either remove the lump or the entire breast. And that's the picture of a woman doing that, of the image of a needle. You just need a simple syringe to target the tumor to confirm whether it's cancerous or not. Now, I'm going to use this image here now to help women at home understand why they need to do self-breast examination. So every woman at home, I'm going to teach you the opportunity to do self-breast. I'm sure you can all see my fingers. So I want all of you to raise your fingers like this. Let's start with the right. So hold up your right hand. Yes. And do your thumb like this. And bring that thumb opposite breasts. Sorry, the fingers opposite breast. So your fingers are resting somewhere like this. Imagine this is the X-ray of your breast. So your fingers are resting there. What you are going to now do for me is something like this. So obviously you are dressed, you have your bra, you have your clothing on, but when I'm off the camera and we finish the Zoom meeting, take off everything so you can get closer to your breast. What we are asking you to do is use these 4 fingers to look and feel for a lump, the size of this thing you are looking at. The beautiful thing about a woman's breast is that it's made up of fat. This area that is dark, that you cannot see anything, is actually fat. So if your fingers are touching this area, you're actually feeling the fat, and fat is soft. But if this lump, God forbid, none of you have any lump in your breast, but if you feel anything underneath your fingers right now, it's because these fingers are picking up a lump, a hardness. Because there's no hardness at this moment, I want you to lift up those fingers and go to this side of your breast. So the same breast. No, not Sister Foluke. Thank you for reminding me. So your right hand is actually examining the left breast. So don't get confused. So you are starting from a 12 o'clock position to 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then you're finishing it where? 9 o'clock. So basically, if I use this image here, this is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. So this tumor is at the 10 o'clock position of this man's breast. But for you at home, you don't have any lump today, and you will not have it in Jesus' name. But I want you to be doing this every month. Put your hands on your breast, whether you are lying down, whether you are sitting up, whether you're in front of a mirror. Don't worry about all of that, because you just want to get familiar with your breast. And once you've done that, take your hands towards the armpit. If you look at this picture here, these tiny little things are called lymph nodes. Your lymph nodes could be the little red flag your body could be waving when there is a tumor in the breast that your fingers can't pick up. But because the lymph nodes swell up here too, you can pick them up quickly. And of course, the tail of the breast extends towards the armpit. So you don't want to miss anything along that line. Having examined the left breast, you change your hand to the left hand to examine the right breast. And you repeat the same process again. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. I'm happy a lot of our women out there are doing it. I can see Sister Foluke vigorously doing that 3 o'clock. God bless you. Cancer will not be your portion. When is the best time to do this? The best time to do this is when you've just finished your period. When you've just finished your period, when your breasts are no longer tender, when you can confidently press every nook and cranny, as it were, of your breast. And you do that only 12 times a month if you are not pregnant. If you are breastfeeding, don't worry about it. Finish breastfeeding, and then you resume that again. What age should you start? Whenever you have a woman with breast buds. So your teenage daughter at home starts teaching her how to do it. Mommy, grandma, she can do it too. For as long as you have your breast, please do 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. Cancer will not be our portion in Jesus' name. So having mentioned that, I'll quickly take us to cervical cancer. Every 2 minutes, a woman dies of cervical cancer in the world. Every minute, a woman is diagnosed with cervical cancer. Look at the map of the world. It's a global problem. But in other parts of the world, they've identified the importance of their women. And it's true, because women, you form the bedrock of society. A developed country is actually developed because they are developed their women. Look at this map. The map showing areas of the world that are in light pink are actually developed world. And guess what they do? All these countries in light pink actually have a national cancer screening policy for their women, free of charge. I can confirm that. I work in the NHS. A woman gets a letter every 3 years from her GP. The same thing in America, same thing in Australia, same thing in most part of Europe. So come in, inviting them. You are hale and healthy, but please come in. We're going to run this following test on you: a cervical pap smear, a mammogram, or an ultrasound scan. Why is this important? This is it. On this map, you see the incidence of breast cancer is the highest in the world amongst women. It's the scourge of humanity, because it's the #1 killer of women too. But if you look at this data again, in Asian countries, under mortality, you see that actually lung cancer is killing more women than breast cancer. And it's going down towards cervical cancer as the 4th killer of women. If you look at this data closely in Europe, you actually see the mortality of cervical cancer is the least. The incidence of cervical cancer is also further down the road, because they are vaccinating their girls and their women, and they are doing screening for all their women. Sister Foluke, would you like to see what it looks like in Africa?
Yes, sir.
Cervical cancer is the #1 cancer of our women, even more than breast cancer. So for every woman who's had breast cancer, who is dying from it, there are more dying from cervical cancer. We just don't know them. Before the end of this hour, another woman will die from cervical cancer in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. These are women, wives, sisters, colleagues, worship leaders, imams' wives. I can go on. Politicians' wives too. Because women don't realize that the only thing they can do to prevent this disease is actually to go for screening. A 5 minutes, 10 minutes procedure, which can be uncomfortable because it's in that private part of your body, but you do need to do this test. This is the normal cervix of a woman. This is the one that has cervical cancer. What causes this cancer? It's a virus that we guys, men, pass to women during sexual intercourse.
Oh, goodness.
So a woman's cervix went from normal to this because somebody said, I love you.
Wow.
I think it's the tragedy of love story of women. And
Wow.
a man will know that you women are suckers for I love you. So it's the biggest lie in the world. Because when we say I love you, they go, oh, yeah, come and have sex. And then with sex, the woman's cervix looks like this. And this is why it's a screenable cancer. Because it doesn't turn to cancer immediately. It takes years. And during those years, the woman's cervix will be giving doctors an opportunity to intervene. HPV is a virus like corona, like HIV. You cannot cure it, but you can prevent it from doing a damage to your body. So in case of corona, we all wear a mask. We're all praying for a vaccine. In the case of cervical cancer, HPV means you check your cervix once you become sexually active, and then you take the vaccine. So in the case of this woman you are looking at, one of my patients, I could see clearly the cancer forming years before a doctor would have given her a diagnosis of cervical cancer. And of course, what would I do? I would take care of her. So women, pap smear is the test you need to do if you're in a developed country. Liquid-based cytology on the cervical brush is the test we recommend, not a wooden spatula. But if you're in a low-resource country like our own, come and do a colposcopy like what I do in my foundation. You actually view it on a camera. And you can see the picture of the abnormality. And within a matter of minutes, that's myself dressed in my surgeon suit, about to treat a woman with precancerous lesions on her cervix. A procedure called cryotherapy that delivers minus 40 degrees centigrade of ice on that woman's cervix, painlessly. This woman has left my clinic immediately after that procedure, praising the Lord. Because she now knows the truth about her cervix. She now knows the truth about the treatment we have given her, because she can see and visualize it. And she has come back 6 months later, praising the Lord indeed, because the disease is no longer in her. I've done this procedure for thousands of women in my clinic. That's the data between 2013 and 2016. I'm producing another 5 years data to make a total of 10-year study, which I will publish later. Hopefully, we have leaders who can listen. Look at this data, Sister Foluke. 28% of Nigerian women who come to my clinic have CIN1, CIN2, 12%, CIN3, 11%. What does this CIN mean? These are women who are on their way to cervical cancer. If they are not walked into my clinic to do a screening test, and I've not done a biopsy, and I've not done their cryotherapy, in 5 years down the line, this was done in 2013 to 2016, most of them by now will now be told and informed that you have been given a diagnosis of cervical cancer, all because somebody had sex with them. I think it's unacceptable. I believe it's unacceptable to me as a gynecologist, as a Nigerian, and to God. Because women really, truly, when we lose a woman for any disease whatsoever, it's not just that woman we have lost. We can lose a whole community, because a whole community is tied to a woman. And that's why I'm very passionate about this, Sister Foluke. And that's why I wanted to share this data with you. So you can see that that woman you have just said hello to today, she may not be around 5 years down the line. If you have not told her, have you checked your cervix? It's important. It's truly important. And it's an amazing story to tell you that, to round up this slide, that HPV is now known to be the causative factor for this virus. And there's a vaccine available. So when a woman takes the vaccine, her body produces neutralizing antibodies. So the next time the man comes with this "I love you" story, and she's going, "Oh, come and have sex," all that can happen. But guess what is going on in her immune system? Her immune system will neutralize that HPV, and she will not have that. And that's what they've done in other parts of the world, taking care of their women, giving this vaccine to their young girls from the age of 10. That's the answer to your question you asked me earlier. Age of 10. So that by the time they become sexually active in their teenage years, their body would have produced enough neutralizing antibodies. So they don't need to be afraid of having cervical cancer. And for women who are already sexually active, they can take this vaccine too. And this is the explanation. Imagine, Sister Fuluke, you have a lot of women in your age group, maybe in the 30s or late 30s or early 40s. They're already sexually active. They are married already. They are in their husband's home. So they have only one sexual partner. But the virus that causes cervical cancer is not just one strain. There are many strains of them. So your body is already used to your partner's strain. So you have formed a natural immunity against it. So you've come to my clinic today, and I've looked at your service, and your service is beautiful.
Okay.
And I don't offer you a vaccine. This is what you are facing. You go back into the street, into your society, onto your homes. Sadly, Oga strays away. He goes to use condom when he has gone to play away. Not your own Osgar, but you can paint that picture in your mind of how many men are out there playing away games from their matrimonial homes. He wears a condom, thinking, oh, well, I'm protecting myself from an unwanted pregnancy and an STD. But condoms don't prevent cervical cancer. They don't prevent HPV transmission. Totally useless. So it transfers the virus from his side cheek, which is what they are called. I didn't know until they were doing a challenge, side challenge and wife challenge. I don't know whether you saw it too. So a side chick out there, 2, 3, 4 of them sharing probably other sexual partners. The man brings the virus from outside to the woman at home, who had done a screening test this year and she's fine. The virus is a new virus to her system and can start acting on her cervix. So by the time she comes back for another checkup in 3 years' time, I can actually pick up a disease in her body. So the real thing to do and the safest thing to do is, once a woman is sexually active or continues to be sexually active, you offer them the vaccine, because, or irrespective of their sexual lifestyle choices, they continue to be at risk because of their partner's lifestyle choices. And women bear the brunt of this disease. That's why we offer them the vaccine. The exception for women for vaccination are women who are no longer sexually active, usually because they are in their 50s or in their 60s. They don't have a husband living with them anymore. Because I have a 55-year-old woman who just remarried, and she remarried, her new husband is 45. And she came knowing fully well that she needs the vaccine, and she agreed with me that she is high risk. Unlike a 56-year-old grandma who her husband is late, she's not likely to start having sex again, then she doesn't need to take the vaccine. So from the age of 10, in my clinic, I offer the vaccine to the people. If a woman says, I'm still sexually active, she'll get the vaccine. Because I expect her to continue living up to the 80 to 90. So that vaccine continues to protect her for another 30, 40 years. In America, going back to your question, why do they not offer this vaccine initially to women in America who are already sexually active? The data that they use to study this efficacy. Remember, right now, a lot of pharmaceutical companies are publishing data on the efficacy and efficiency of the corona vaccine. They did the same thing for this HPV vaccine 10 years ago. So the data they used to test this vaccine was on 26-year-old women. And anybody who wants to Google this study, is actually called Patricia study. Papilloma trial in children and adults, Patricia. And there are two studies that were done, Patricia 1 and Patricia 2. So you will see the age group of the cohort of women they used to test this HPV vaccine was 26-year-old women. So they gathered these women together and say, okay, have you had sex before? Go to this group. Are you a virgin? Go to this group. Okay, this group will give them placebo. This other group will give them the vaccine. And they now mix them together. So in doctor's time, we call it randomized control trial. So the result of the randomized control trial was based on 26-year-old women. So when the result came back that these vaccines were very effective, Americans said, wait a minute, we cannot afford to vaccinate all our women. Can we restrict these vaccines to women that you use for the study? That was why they used the cutoff age at 26, because they didn't want to spend all that money vaccinating all their women, assuming that all the women say they want a vaccine. Now that age has been increased to 45. In Australia, where the wife of the former prime minister died from cervical cancer, the government automatically gave everybody under the age of 40 the same vaccine. In the NHS in the UK, you are entitled to that vaccine. It's just that the government will not pay for it if you are older than 16. It's not available on the NHS if you're older than 16. You can pay for it for yourself. All right? So that the government wanted to focus on the young children. And that's why they are available. So if you go to your GP in England, he will not offer you a vaccine because you rather not pay for it. And then, of course, you have established cervical screening clinics. They have pap smears, they have letters, cytology clinics, and of course, when they tested positive, women test positive in their GPs, they come to hospitals like my hospital I used to work in Kent, Darren Valley. I will run a colposcopy clinic on them on Friday afternoon, check them, make sure they are fine, treat them, and send them back to their GPs. And I thank God that 10 years down the line, God has been with me. His grace has really, really, really empowered me to continue doing the same thing I've been doing, telling women about the dangers of ignoring cervical cancer screening. And today I'm doing exactly what I used to do in England, although in a small setting in my clinic. I wish to do more. I pray and I hope the leaders and the holders of funding in this country can do right for the women of this country, particularly our young children, that vaccination should be made free for teenagers. So what do I do at the foundation level with the support of people like Hilda and all the other funders? Every year on Children's Day, and this is for the benefit of our audience, they should bring their daughters to me. I call them my daughters too. Between the ages of 10 and 16, they pay a fraction of the cost for their vaccine for that year. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Children's Day, May 27, they will come and pay for their vaccines, only a fraction. Adults pay a full fee, children pay a fraction. It used to be 50%. I don't know what percentage I will use next year, but a fraction, definitely they get a discount. In fact, my children that started May 27 vaccine 6 months ago, they came yesterday, November 27, to complete their third and their last doses, because the doses are scheduled between month 1, month 2, and month 6. So yesterday being November 27, they completed their doses. And I get great fulfillment seeing these children, knowing that we have achieved 360 degrees information. Because a child that you are vaccinated is going to do two things. It's going to internalize that information, knowing that HPV, the virus that is collected from men, causes cancer. What's she likely going to do about sexual activity? She will push it further. Yes. Because women in your generation, you were told that if a man touches you, you get pregnant. These children now know that it's a lie. That doesn't work, mommy. I won't get pregnant for him touching. But once they realize that, oh, I can actually get cancer from sex, they go, ew, I don't want any of that. And then the fact that they have taken the vaccine means that most likely they will give their own what? Their own daughters. So for me, it's more than just this generation we're after. We are reaching towards the next generation of women so that they are informed, they are better educated, and to the glory of God, Sister Foluke, what you are doing on this platform as well, you are informing a society and a generation, and God bless you for doing that. Thank you
so much, Dr. Lale. This has been amazingly educating. I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Chats. I'm going to be reading them out. We don't have much time left, but definitely we need to share the name of, well, good. It's Dr. Lale's hospital is Optimal Cancer, that's the care foundation is Optimal Cancer
Care Foundation, yes.
Yes, and his address is 118 Bode Thomas Street in Surulere.
Okay.
Surulere. So you please have that information. Some people have asked that.
I can send you our flyer as well if you want it, so you can post it on the group.
I would appreciate that, sir.
I'll do that now.
I would. Okay. And so we're learning, because I had to ask that question, that how come it's not offered in the United States. Now I understand. The U.S. economy is it's money based too, even when it comes to healthcare.
Absolutely.
So now we understand. There's a question that I saw that I wanted to. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Oh, okay. Yes, this person says, does it still apply if you've had a double mastectomy? So for instance, do you still keep checking your breast if you've had a double mastectomy?
Of course not. If you have had a mastectomy, they remove the breast. So we
Okay,
don't.
what if I have, okay, what if I've had the double mastectomy, but then now I have, I've done a boob job.
Okay. Well, a boob job is actually not a natural breast, it's silicone. So if they put a silicone in a woman's breast, there's no breast tissue there anymore. So the woman is fine. For women with double mastectomy, they can actually insert a silicone on this side and on that side. So that's fine. And we don't have a lot of our women doing, cosmetic surgery after their mastectomy. In fact, it's actually an expensive procedure to do a mastectomy. To now have the cost of doing cosmetic surgery on top of it, it's really not something I recommend. Or I would imagine that a woman who has had mastectomy is a woman who really needs to be looking after her health rather than cosmetics. And therefore, a doctor, surgeons, oncologists will always be on a case. She'll probably still be on medication anyway if tumor is hormone receptor positive. So these are all the things that we will be looking at for a woman who has breast cancer, who has had mastectomy, rather than worrying about self-breast examination for her. Okay. I have a few questions here too, Sister Foluke.
Perfect. Please go on, sir.
I have some questions here. There's an interesting question here. How about my boys? My boys were vaccinated was it needed? Was the question. Initially, a lot of women felt that it was necessary to vaccinate their boys because, just like I pointed out, it was men that we've identified this virus and linked it to sexual intercourse with men. And so it makes sense to vaccinate the boys. But from a public health point of view, if you vaccinate your boy, you are not protecting his future wife if you don't vaccinate the girl. Because you don't know who your boy is going to marry. So for a population where you vaccinate a large population of boys, then that works. So in the UK and in the US, what they are doing now is the vaccine they are giving to boys is not for cervical cancer. It's to prevent HPV generally in the population. HPV causes genital warts in boys and in girls. So the virus that causes genital warts in boys can also affect women. So in the UK and in the US now, they use a particular type of vaccine called Gardasil. Gardasil protects against genital warts and cervical cancer. So it's a double whammy, meaning that it's a double, not double whammy, it's two for the price of one. So if your boy is in the UK or in the US and they're giving him the vaccine, that's fine. He's going to benefit from the reduction in the risk of genital warts. But his future wife would have been given that vaccine too, which would have reduced our risk of cervical cancer. But coming back home to Africa, there's no point in me vaccinating a young boy. Genital warts is not a very big public health issue for our children, our boys here. And I would rather you vaccinate your girl. So that's why my focus is on the girl child and our women. Okay? So I don't know where Mrs. Dada lives, maybe she lives abroad, that could explain why your son was vaccinated. Thank you for the compliments for everybody who has been sending nice compliments to us. Then what is the difference between cryotherapy and cone biopsy? Cryotherapy basically is freezing. Cryo is ice. Therapy is treatment. Ice treatment. That's what cryotherapy means. And I've shown that slide earlier. But a cone biopsy, we don't do that anymore. No gynecologist should do a cone biopsy anymore. But it used to be a terminology we used to describe the act or the procedure where a doctor goes to cut out with a cold knife and cut a cone into the cervix with a view to remove the abnormality so that the pathologist can have a big chunk of tissue to look for confirmation of precancerous cells. We don't do that anymore. We use a different method called loop excision procedure called LEEP. This is also available at my foundation. And for women who are CIN1, CIN2, CIN3 and above, having done biopsies for them, I schedule them for have LEEP so I can remove the remnants of the disease. So comb biopsies are no longer available because the risk involved. Somebody has already answered our clinic case. I'm very happy people are already taking that up. Somebody says, I thought it was too late to take the vaccine after your teenage years. Now, thanks to Sister Foluke, you have listened to the correct information. It's not too late. Continue to be at risk throughout a lifetime. Okay? So even if you are a virgin, and I hope this person asking this question is stressing virginity rather than teenage years, because I have some women in their 30s who are still virgins. So if you have never had sex before, yes, take the vaccine. If you have had sex and you are continuing to have sex, check your cervix first, then take the vaccine. And that is the teaching, that is the knowledge, that is the word that we are sharing with women nowadays. Let us replace the old school knowledge with the new knowledge out there. And at times, women, please don't take my word for it. Google it. Go online and say, is it safe for me to take vaccine? I am so age. And they'll tell you, you get the data out there. It's not something I made up for myself. Is it painful when doing the checks? It is not painful. Cervical cancer screening is very safe, very, 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 very painless. As long as you've had sex before. As long as sex is not painful. And if you feel very anxious about it, all our nurses and doctors are female. Tell them how you feel about your anxiety. They can use a smaller speculum for you that is even smaller than some male genital organs. So you should not have any problem. And the beautiful thing about the woman's reproductive organ is that it is elastic. It stretches. I mean, for God's sake, it's designed to allow a human body, a baby, to pass through because it can stretch. Yes. So for you now, if you want to do the test, don't be afraid. The plastic equipment they're going to use is just enough to open it so that the doctor or the nurses can see. And then you can also see the situation with your cervix. The question next I have here is breast cancer hereditary. The gene for breast cancer has been identified. We call it BRCA1, BRCA2. It's very simple. Breast cancer gene 1, breast cancer gene 2. That's what BRCA stands for. These two genes have been identified, and when the scientists had the opportunity to do the genetic mapping of the human body, we were able to identify exactly some genes that can be transferred in diseases, and BRCA1 and so have been identified. So for every woman out there who's had family history, and family history is relative only to your female lineage, the mother, your mother's sister, and your sister. Your mother, your mother's sister, and your sister. Anybody else outside these three relatives will not constitute a risk to you because you don't share the same, what we call phylogenetic tree on the female lineage anymore, okay? So what we will recommend is, if the woman is out there and she had the diagnosis given to her, she needs to inform her daughters, because she could pass the gene to them. She could need to inform her sisters, because she could pass the gene to them. And she needs to inform her sisters' daughters, her nieces. Because again, their mother, that is the two sisters, could have inherited the same gene that may not have been reflected in this aunt, the sister, but could be manifested in the daughters. So my prayer is generational curses will not come upon any one of you in Jesus' name. But this knowledge, this information, they are out there so that we can learn and we can avoid some things. I've seen an 11-year-old girl whose mother died from breast cancer. And when she started having lumps in her breast, our church leaders kept praying for her. They were rebuking generational curses. She turned 16. By the time she came to see me, she already had stage 3 breast cancer. She had passed away. So if that information had been given to our church leaders that early, it would be something that we could have prevented. They would have removed that lump as quickly as possible. So it's important for women to know that breast cancer is hereditary. However, women with no family history can develop cancer. Is Hilda still there? Hilda doesn't have any family history.
She's here.
Yes. Hilda doesn't have any family history. So the fact that it is you are saying, oh, nobody in our family has breast cancer, and because of that you are not coming for screening, you don't think this information is for you, please, that's not fair. Okay, every woman with a pair of breasts, you stand a risk, please. And that risk has been worked out in Nigeria to be 1 in 25. There are over 50 of us on this Zoom meeting. Imagine all these 50 people are women. 2, let's exclude my sister Hilda. There's another extra person with breast cancer diagnosis in the future. That's how common this thing is. All of us, let's reject it. It will not be our portion in Jesus' name. So, having passed that information to you women, I'm very happy to tell you that all we need to do on your home, all you need to do at home now is just do your 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, and make sure you attend screening. The last question I can see here that I need to answer that somebody has not answered for me is, pap smear is done every 2 years by my doctor. Is that enough, or should I request for more frequency? Again, that's an educated woman who understands, and a very educated doctor as well, who offers pap smear to his patients. Part of the problem with pap smearing is that our doctors don't offer it enough. So every woman out there, please request for a test called pap smear. If your doctor is not keen to do it, please come to me. It should be done every 2 to 3 years. In some clinics, in some countries, they actually do it every 5 years. But I do it every 2 to 3 years in Nigeria because I don't want to lose any of my women to follow up. So the earlier I can remind you to come back, the better for everybody. Okay? But some women, the viruses out there are very aggressive. So I don't want to wait for a longer period before I can pick it up. I know in the sexual activity and the lifestyle of some of our men, cyclic A, cyclic B, cyclic C, cyclic. But before you know it, before the end of the year, the woman has been loaded with so many viruses that within a year, what I saw last year may not be the same thing I'll see this year. So I would prefer to see my women every 2 years. So your doctor is very okay, and I think 2 years is okay. If you have done an hysterectomy, do I still need to do a pap smear test? Hysterectomy means removal of a woman's womb. Yes, we can remove a woman's womb and the woman can continue having normal sexual activities. However, some of my colleagues, when they remove a woman's womb, leave the cervix behind. We call such hysterectomy subtotal hysterectomies. And I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility as a gynecologist. If you remove a woman's womb, and you leave the cervix behind, please, they should tell these women. But I found out that we don't tell enough of these women. So if you have had hysterectomy, I'm happy you've used the word hysterectomy, please qualify it. Is it a total hysterectomy or a subtotal hysterectomy? Because if they've left the cervix behind, then you need to come back and do a pap smear or a screening test until 65 years old. Okay? Until you are 65 years old. You need to be doing it there. But if they remove your cervix and it's a total hysterectomy, good news, you don't have to worry about your cervix. You only need to focus on, we need to focus on your breast, okay? Thank you very much. I think my sister Foluke, I have done good justice to the questions.
Dr. Lale, this has been an amazing session. I've been so educated, I know, and questions have been answered. I'm so excited about this. I'm really so happy because we've gotten information out. And I sent you a private message. You should read that and respond because we'll be having a part 2. And we're going to be rounding up, but as we're rounding up, I want my sister, I want Hilda to have say something that you want to leave with everybody that's listening. But before then, I have a friend who I just want to say a word or two. She's a cancer survivor, a strong woman as well, strong woman of faith too, and she's doing an amazing job all the way in England. And I'm hoping Flo, if you're here, we need to see your face so they can unmute you. Are you able to do that? I don't know if she's still here. She was here earlier and she just passed the comments.
Howdy, I'm here.
Oh no. I think, oh, she's here. Yay.
Yes, I am here.
How are you?
I'm fine. It's
How
been
you
an
doing?
amazing program, I have to say. Thank you, Dr. Lale. And I'm going to make contact with you, by the way, just so you know.
Thank you.
So,
You're looking
yeah,
lovely.
thank you so
Looking
much.
gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. And hi, Hilda. I'm listening. What do you want me to do?
She actually, Flo actually cut her hair. You can see the low cut, and Dr. Lale just said you're looking nice.
Yes,
she had a haircut on her 50th birthday.
Shaved.
On
When you say
Facebook.
cut, they'll think it's trim.
Oh,
That is shaved.
That's true. That's true. Oh God. I just want to say something because we're going to be rounding up. I have just 5 minutes for you and a minute there, Hilda, and Dr. Lale has a minute, then I have to do the roundup so we can close this session.
Okay,
Just
thanks.
something. You're a
As I
cancer
said,
survivor.
yeah.
You've got
This has been an amazing program. I think the points have been made. Early detection saves lives. I was just diagnosed with breast cancer just last year, but I thank God now I'm a survivor. I am on hormonal therapy. I'm on tamoxifen. And as we know, sometimes pain does birth purpose. So through my journey, I started lots of things. I started the blog. I have a cancer support group on Facebook. I raise funds. As my friend said, I raised funds in June. I'm raising funds right now, walking. Hilda said something. You can't overcome something without happiness. A scripture I use throughout my what I went through. A merry heart doeth good like medicine, and it's so true. And what you said, Dr. Lale, about people who actually cannot even afford the treatment, that is what I'm doing now. And that's what I said, I'll contact you because I'm supporting people who I have a strapline I use. No one should die just because they cannot afford to live. And you find a lot of people in Nigeria. I'm raising funds here, but the truth of the matter is that most of the people I am helping are in Nigeria. I spend my time daily talking to people, getting reports. Last week, someone who had to do radiotherapy, 770,000. Where we should find it? A prince, I can't afford it. Ran around for 400. I transferred the balance from what people send. I supported someone. Unfortunately, she passed. Exactly what you said, Dr. Lale. She had to stop treatment because of funding. And then I met her. She did do treatment afterwards, but obviously the break in treatment had caused her situation to deteriorate. And that's when I came in, but unfortunately she passed. But that gave me more of a resolve that, we can't save the world, but we can make a difference by taking a step. So I'm continually raising funds. Some people think, oh, you're doing all that. I'm like, well, yes, it's when you pass through something. For me, my mess is my message. Now, I'm so happy to meet Hilda, and I'm happy I joined this program because it's encouraged me again. What I do, it's heavy. It's emotionally draining. I'm talking to people. People call me, this one has stage 4 breast cancer. Talk to her. Oh, this one had cancer 3 years ago. Now it has come back. You have to keep praying. I keep praying. The Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence. You hear the stories. They're like scary stories, but you're like, no, affliction will not arise a second time. So I'm thankful that we can be saying we're breast cancer survivors. Early detection saves lives. All this thing about where Christian churches, they say they'll be praying, it's just really terrible. So it's that awareness. And everyone knows I say my story everywhere. So people should know. Breast cancer is not necessarily a death sentence, okay? You can survive it, but early detection, speak out, go for treatment. I'm a born-again Christian. We trust in God, but the Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct. So God heals at the end of the day. So I'm just happy and honored to be here and listen to everything. And Dr. Lale, I will contact you. I'm trying to register this charity in Nigeria now. And mine it's not for research, it's to make direct impact in the lives of people who cannot, afford it in Nigeria and for people here. just to support them emotionally, financially, because cancer affects a lot of people financially, even in the Western world. I sent money to someone in the US where insurance doesn't always cover the cancer treatment. So it's all over the world. So thank you for the opportunity to just say something. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Flo. And keep shining. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Again to Hilda. Hilda, I know that you have something to round up with. We do have to round up. We're going to be needing this area very quickly. So please, let's just go.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'll say hello to check on her to see his son in there. Education, early prevention. But I think if all of us who are on this group, I mean, I've seen there's currently 49 participants. At the time, I said 62, something like that. If every one of us talks to one person, who talks to one person, who talks to one person, then we would have spread the good news. It is good news that, you know, it's not a death sentence, and together we can do this. And the biggest problem in Nigeria is a lack of knowledge, people who just don't know. You know, I think one of the things that also helped was that in the UK, if you go into every toilet, and because I've been there for a bit, into school, you know, God is awesome. So I think that's why he made me go to school there for a year and a half before that diagnosis. So I knew pretty much everything. Every public toilet going to, once you shut the door, the back of that door is always about cancer, always. Is it a cancer or, okay, the other things about dogs, but, you know, always about their pets or cancer. So I knew so much about cancer and pets, but both became equally, you know, good knowledge for me. But I think it's the education, it's that education. Dr. Lale has pushed me to all parts of, you know, everywhere. I mean, I even go to Kaduna probably to do a cancer talk with them, Dr. Lale does walk. And those walks, you know, people look at them who are stupid, but it's the flyers that they share to educate you. He goes to so many companies every year, having this same talk he gave us. It's a much longer talk then, but he does this same talk with companies. I keep hoping that women will keep spreading the news. You know, we need to keep talking. So look at this that you have done. So, okay, so I can't call you flaky. You're for look at me. This is beautiful, this that you have done. And, you know, I hope that you will continue to do things on cancer. And maybe when it's time for prostate cancer and all of that, we must continue to talk about it. We must continue. Thank you for having me here. It was lovely to share my story as usual. I love sharing it. You know, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hilda. Thank you. Really appreciate your being here so much, so much. Dr. Lale, we're going to give you, I've been told that we really need to stop. So can you just say a one-liner, something that everybody needs to go home with? Thank you so much.
Early detection is the best protection is what I will say. Early detection is the best protection. We can invest in many other things, but if you can invest in screening and detecting diseases early is the best form of protection. I'm going to share our flyer in the message segment. Anybody who is interested can click on it, and it has all the details. Free screening available if it's sponsored, or if it's not sponsored, you pay only half the price on Friday. Any other day, if you can afford it, just 5,000 naira. And then just mention you're from Sister Foluke.
Let's talk about it.
And then let's talk about it. Then I will obviously give you more discount. The address is 118 Bode Thomas. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lale, God bless you. Thank you so much. I feel much more educated than when I started, for real. And honestly, to everybody that is on this program today, thank you so much. Thank you. It's been 2 solid hours. And I know what that is for data. And it's a lot. And I have to say a special thank you. I'm on an assignment. I'm somewhere different today for this program. I'm actually at the Redemption Camp on an assignment. And I have to take hours off the time to prepare and do this. And so I must acknowledge those that granted me the permission to be able to do this. Indirectly, my father and my mother in the Lord, mommy and daddy Gio, first and foremost. And then DTCE, Directorate of Teens and Children's Education, where my ministry calling is. I'm really appreciative because I'm on an assignment, but I have to take time off to do this. And I have to say thank you to Pastor Ayola Jolayemi, who, you know, puts everything together for me to make it possible. You won't understand, there's a lot of production and stuff going on, and yet he made time, put the room together, and 2 very handsome young men, David and Femi, who helped me put this together. All these props behind me, I said they really set me up today. I'm looking like some, you know, I'm really just happy. I know they can hear me, I know they can see, and I'm so grateful. For every single person, Flo, God bless you. Thank you for being here. For every single one that has tuned in, please remember that the reason why we have Let's Talk About It is that whatever we discuss here, you take the word out, share with other people. Share with other people, let them be knowledgeable. He has shared address. Hilda has shared her story. It's not a death sentence. And she always says something. And I tell her, I listen, but I tell her, I say, sis, I still need you here for a long, long time. She says to me, she says, if God says it's time for me to go, I'd rather be prepared because he has given me notice. That always hits me. He has given me notice, so I would rather be prepared. And I tell her all the time, you know what, I still need you here. And that's reality. But at the end of the day, what matters is what do you do with the information that you receive? What do you do with the trials that you go through? The Bible says what? It said the Holy Spirit will comfort you with the comfort with which you will comfort other people. That's what Hilda has done. Dr. Lalaye has taken his skills and his passion, and he's doing that. And Flo is doing the same thing. What are you going to do with the trials that you have gone through? What are you going to do with the information that you have received today? I hope you're going to do something positive. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you next month by the grace of God. Thank you very much for tuning in. God bless you all. Thank you.